Welcome to the Jali podcast. I'm your host, Melyssa Barrett. This podcast is for those who are interested in the conversation around equity, diversity, and inclusion. Each week, I'll be interviewing a guest who has something special to share or is actively part of building solutions in the space. Let's get started. Join me this week as we dive into the vibrant world of dance and culture with Lula Washington, founder and artistic director of the renowned Lula Washington Dance Theater, and her daughter, Tamica Washington Miller, the associate director and name successor. From Lula's inspiring journey breaking barriers in dance to Tamica's dedication to preserving their legacy, this episode promises an insightful exploration of art, resilience, and community impact. Tune in and discover some of the untold stories behind their groundbreaking work and the profound influence of their contributions worldwide. I would be remiss if I did not tell you that Lula founded the company in 1980 with her husband, Erwin Washington, to provide a creative outlet for minority dance artists in the inner city. Today, Lula and her company are revered across the United States and around the world. The company has danced in over 150 cities in the United States, as well as abroad in Germany, Spain, Kosovo, Mexico, Canada, China, and Russia. She stumbled upon modern dance at Harbor Community College, where a dance instructor introduced her to the work of Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. Mesmerized by the beauty of Ailey's dancers, Lula decided to pursue dance as a career. And soon afterward, she applied to the University of California, Los Angeles dance program and was rejected. The university said she was too old at age 22 to begin a dance career. By this time, Lula was already married to her husband and raising a small child, who we will talk to today, Tamica. Tamica is amazing in her own right. Her credits span film, television, live theater, and dance, and she's performed throughout the United States and abroad on a range of projects. She obviously was blessed to study and grow up under notable pioneers and legends in dance and theater. Tamica worked with her parents to host the International Association of Blacks in Dance Conference and Festival in Los Angeles 4 different times, drawing thousands of people to Los Angeles in 1992, 2005, 2011, and 2018. She currently sits on the board of directors for the International Association of Blacks in Dance, the Dance USA Board of Trustees, and the Western Arts Alliance Board of Directors. Let me just tell you, this family is amazing. Join me as you hear from Lula Washington and Tamica Washington Miller. And I will tell you, Lula never stopped working the whole time. So I know some of you are listening to this because it's a podcast, but if you have the opportunity to check out YouTube, she is busy, busy, busy all the time, making sure that she is doing whatever she needs to do to make sure her dancers are prepared and ready for their performance. I am so excited to have them here in my city, and I am looking forward to the performance, and I'm just excited. So do not miss this performance. They will be in Tracy on March 23rd, 2024. But if you miss them here, make sure you go to their website, find out where they're going to be. They are absolutely amazing.
When I think about my parents, it's just an era, I think, of the time that they came from that was like, there's nothing to lose. Let's just go for it and make it happen and make it work and make it ours. And there's no rules. I can create this, whatever it is that I want to do. But I understand that there were things happening in the world that made them feel the need to be sparked to think I need to create space. And so the dance company is one of many spaces that my parents together created, and separately they created spaces. I mean, my dad created at UCLA, was part of creating No More Players, which was the Black theater group on campus at UCLA. Lula's had the Black Dance Alliance or something of that sort. I can't remember the exact name. And so there was a need to have a space where their voice could be heard, and a space to create, and a space to be with others that believed in the stories and believed in the work and the visions and had a passion to be there too. And so, but I think there was at the time, if you're just thinking about them and their college, they were in college in the 70s. So that was like a time. Black people were doing so many, Black people always been doing amazing things. And and the 70s are very special because people were pushing the glass ceiling, people were deciding to create their own things. And I really believe that generation of founders and innovators, they did it with their own two hands and each other,
Yeah.
vision and a heart, passion, and fiercely independent, and nobody's going to keep me down. And so I am grateful that they followed the spirit and went for it.
And
As a
instilled it
child,
in
and
you
I
for
was,
sure.
well, I was there. I'm an only child, and I was always with my parents. I was by a certain age, I started being with them all the time and off and on, even from childhood. And people were just like, I remember you crawling in the dance studio. And I'm like, oh, can't help it. My parents brought
Yes.
but my earliest memories are in theaters, in rehearsal studios, running around UCLA. And their activism was early on, and I experienced that too. At UCLA, they didn't have student child care on campus. They had faculty child care and employee. I don't even know if they had employee. So my parents, along with I think three other families, sued UCLA,
Oh, wow.
took them to and pushed for student childcare. So at the age of 2 or 3, come on, we're in the Daily Bruin. See a little 2-year old little ashy knee Black girl, her grandfather getting ready to be dropped off at the UCLA Child Care Center because they were able to. I don't know all the details, but I do know that they did push. There was some legal actions, and then there was childcare. So I was at UCLA at that campus was like, it felt like that's where I was going to go to college. I just already knew that. So anybody who who doesn't want to bring their kids to school, bring your kids to school, because I didn't want to go to college. But by the time it was time to go, I was like, I got to go to UCLA. If I'm going, I got to go there. But it was because I grew up on the campus. I knew it. I knew where I was going. I understood by that time because my folks were at school for a long time. I think until they graduated when I was around 10 or 11, and we still had relations on campus up until 12, 13. And then I'm in high school, and I'm in high school in Westwood at University High School. So I'm right down the street. But I digress from the original thought. But I think we were talking about the need to create something and the need to have the space. And my parents were able to work with individuals in Los Angeles who were doing the arts. Arwanda Lewis had the Arwanda Lewis African American Dance Ensemble in Los Angeles. When she finished in the 80s, I feel like the 90s, she finally wrapped up. It was 35 years. And as she evolved, she gave Lula the lease to her building. Lula worked with her. So her, Arwanda and her husband mentored Lula and Erwin while Lula was dancing with Arwanda Lewis and teaching for Arwanda Lewis and many other places in Los Angeles, schools, universities. I mean, coming out, when my mom picked me up at school, we were going over to Cal State Long Beach so she could teach a class. Then we're going to go over there to Cal State Dominguez for a rehearsal. And then we're going to go and pick somebody up and give them a ride. I mean, we were, she's doing a lot and I was there. And so Lula saw that it was possible to have her own thing because she had an example. And Arwanda had an example, excuse me. Arwanda had an example because she came from the Catherine Dunham School, which I don't know if you're familiar with who Catherine Dunham is. She is, oh my, you got to know who Catherine Dunham is. Catherine Dunham, Catherine Dunham is known as the mother of jazz dance. She is an anthropologist. She's one of the first Black women or women, period, to receive a Fulbright grant to travel throughout Africa and the Caribbean and the
Oh,
West Indies.
yes. I know exactly who you're talking about. Yes.
Political activist and choreographer, first Black woman to choreograph in film, first Black woman to produce herself all over the world and her company. And and she was a serious political activist who was critical in many cases in Haiti in different times of their history, in early history there, not early, but you know, in her lifetime.
Yes. Yes.
Were all her dates. And so Arwanda had experiences with Catherine Dunham and moved to Los Angeles and started her school in her garage and at the parks, and then had her company. And Lula was in her company in the 70s. And there were other Black choreographers making it happen, just making it happen. And I digress a little bit here because I just need to say that a lot of East Coast people say there's no dance in LA, there's no concert dance in LA. The truth is, they just don't understand how we make it happen and they don't see it. And so they don't know that it's really happening. So dance has been happening in Los Angeles for some time. And and we know that because Lula had examples
Yes.
to follow behind, a foundation to stand on. And now she is holding the helm as an anchor arts organization in Los Angeles, going on 45 years of consistent business. We've never closed. COVID came and we contracted, we didn't close.
Yeah.
We
Well, you didn't have
stayed,
much choice, right?
no, but we did not completely like shut down. Like they took a couple of days off and we said, okay, only 3 people at a time, only one person at a time. Wear your mask. But we kept moving because we saw the movement was necessary for the people
Yes.
involved at the time of COVID and George Floyd. We for real lost people to COVID, but we lost people because their spirit.
Yeah.
I have to go back. The building that Lula inherited, the building that we were in during the 92 earthquake, and right behind it, the Rodney King LA civil unrest.
Oh, wow.
And oh, can I tell you, the gangsters came and stood around our building. We're like, y'all not gonna mess with this space
Oh,
during
wow.
the uprising. The at one point in our time there on Adams, the homeless, the wino came and we came to the studio and we saw somebody painting on the building. We said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm drawing an oasis because this is what this dance studio is. It's an oasis in the midst of all this craziness." You have to imagine the studio was come about. Lula's studio came about at the height of the crack epidemic, height
Mm.
of the crack epidemic. So we were powerful energy in the space at that time. And that was because Lula and Erwin followed their vision and moved into the space when Arwanda made it
Wow.
the offer to them. Lula's coming in here.
Yes, she's coming. It's really, truly a pleasure to have both of you here. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Thank you.
Mom, I was telling Melyssa about, because the question was about how kind of why you guys are doing the dance company. I was giving her the background from my perspective. And I'm at the place where we're talking about where we were on Adams and how you had the example of Arwanda Lewis and Bill Cowser and all the others who were there doing art in LA at the time. And when you took over the building, it was at the height of the crack epidemic. And then as we moved to Pico, we rented space because the earthquake took that first building that we had owned by then. By then we had owned it. And again, Lula and Erwin in their activism had to push back with the city of LA because they wanted to take that building by eminent domain. So
Wow.
all of this that I'm sharing with you is around supports the idea of the impact of the art and the how important it is, but also how hard it is to make happen. So we had the support of the wino and the gangsters over on Adams during the civil unrest, but Lula and Erwin had to push back to the city when they tried to take the space by eminent domain. And I'm chronologically out of order, but the two are connected.
It's actually been a beautiful thing that I had a vision that space was important for our organization as a dance studio, because what I realized very quickly on, and Erwin and I realized very quickly on, that we can't really do programming or what we want to do if we can't do it when we need to do it. So we need to have control of our time, and we need to have control of a space that will allow us to be in it when we need to be in it. So so that's all I would basically say about that. But in doing the space, in each space that we actually were in, starting even on Adams, it, as Tamica says, has been a healing space, as well as a place for creativity to take place, as well as a place for us to bring in artists and introduce them to the art of dance, as well as a place for us to allow students to participate in the arts who would not normally have an opportunity to participate in the art of dance. And so one healing story, just one, I have many healing stories on Adams, but this one sticks out the most because there was a young lady, there were two stories on Adams. One, there was a little girl that would always be at the door when I showed up in the morning before everybody else. And this little girl did not want to go home. And she would be the last person I would have to say, it's time for you to go home. All your class has been over. And she would just always want to stay and just watch everything else that we were doing. And I finally realized that she needed to be in our space because perhaps home was not the best place for her to be during those hours. And it became a second home for this little girl. And we would always, as we've always done, buy food and stuff and make sure they have stuff to eat and keep a watchful eye on them, because perhaps there was nobody at home to keep the watchful eye on them. And then finally we would have to say, it's time to go because we're going. And then she would go. But that's just one story. And then the other story was of one of the students who, I think she found either her father or a relative dead. And it traumatized her, but she still came to the studio. And that day she didn't really want to do anything. And so we kept talking to her because we tried to talk and find out what's going on. And she just started crying. So myself and the other students, I just ran over and hugged her. And of course they came over and they hugged her as well. And I just started walking around the studio. We all just held hands and walked in a circle inside the studio for her until she started to feel better. And she did start to feel better. But we did not know that had happened to her, that she discovered the body until sometime later. But all we knew was that she came to the studio and she needed comfort and she needed us to wrap our arms around her and to walk in the circle, which is a form of movement. It's a form of the universe moving in a circle in a healing position to set her on the right path back to herself to be able to heal. So that's a story there. Then when we were over on Pico, the 9/11 incident happened. We were on Pico, and I was driving to the studio, and my mom was calling, and she said, "Oh, 2 planes crashed into the Empire State Building, whatever that building was." I said, "Oh, Mom, you just watching a TV show. That's a TV. Don't pay no attention to that. No such thing as happened." No. I just didn't believe her. And then as I was continuing driving to the studio, I started getting calls from my dancers, and some of them were frantic and they were panicked. And they all lived in New York. And we had a big rehearsal because we were getting ready to do a show with McCoy Tyner, and we were getting ready to create a new work. And I said, "Well, you guys just come on to the studio and we'll work everything out. It won't be like a real hardcore day of rehearsals." So they all came to the studio, but what I quickly discovered was their mind was not in a place to do anything. And everybody was emotionally upset because they had family and relatives there. And so I said, "Okay, I'm gonna just put on this music and you guys just do whatever you need to do to express yourself to this music." And the music that I happened to put on that day by McCoy Tyner, because we were selecting, I'm doing a suite to his work. The first piece was called "Flying with the Wind." And so I put that music on. And one dancer, he just burst out running around the studio. So it was a healing moment for us to experience that with them at that moment. And what I decided to do, I said, well, this running will be the opening movement in the choreography. So that became part of the momentum for the dance because it was healing and it was spiritual. And everyone else joined in and started doing different things. And afterwards, we kind of talked about it. I asked them how that made them feel. And they all were like, they were broke down, they were crying, but they all said that just the act of hearing that music and me allowing them to do something that was not mine, but unstructured, but something that they were expressing their raw feeling was very healing to them. And then the other story.
Same thing happened with the riots, with the
I was getting ready
unrest.
to tell that.
No, I didn't want to forget that.
Well, yes. No, I was glad because I was just getting ready to say that. And then the other major thing that happened was when Rodney King meetings. We were upstairs in the studio, myself and some students. I was teaching ballet class. And of course, I was naive to what was going on outside. I had no clue that there was rioting in the street on Normandy and Western, and that they were beating this truck driver, and that it was a riot. Actually, it was two times. So the first time, and parents started banging on the door and asked to come in. I said, "My kids got to go. They got to go." And finally, I said, "Well, I was there, but the two little students left." Finally, the last mother, I said, "What is it? What's going on?" She said, "Didn't you hear? Don't you know what's going on?" I said, "No, I don't know." She said, "They're riding in the street. They're tearing up the street. They're tearing up buildings and things. And I got to go." And I said, "Oh, okay." So we went home. But we created, after the verdict happened, again, dancers were emotionally upset, emotionally disturbed, and needed to express themselves as well as I needed to express myself. So I created a dance called, what was that?
Check this out.
Check this out. And we started, I think it was Tamica that started
rap because we were so appalled. Okay, so when it all went down, actually was the first day of my process with Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I was in college. How about that? where were you made?
Here, Tracy area alumni.
Oh wow, that was wonderful. Okay, well, we'll have another conversation. But my knees buckled under, and I literally said, "We don't even matter. We don't even matter." And we were all so enraged. We needed to do something, but we knew going in the street wasn't going to do anything. So showing up to rehearsal was the best thing we could do. And I think at the time, I can't even remember the rapper's name, but engine number 9, we changed the lyrics.
Those white cops got out of line.
Out of line, check it out, check it out, check it out.
So they
We
went to see me
whole
rally.
rap.
You know that knowing that in L would rally, knowing that an all-white jury would never understand a Black man's fury. Check it out, check it out, check it out. And so the dancers all so chimed into that. One girl started singing America the Beautiful. We just created on the spot, created that and created the movement and created a ballet called Check It Out, Check It Out. So that was a healing moment again, and it gave voice to artists who didn't want to go out and throw a brick, or throw a rock, or tear down a building or something, but they wanted their voice to be heard. So, and being part of this choreography, their voices were also heard. And the same thing with the George Floyd thing in our space here on Crenshaw. And then I created a platform that said, oh, what was it? Tell me, what did you see, or something. I gave dancers an opportunity to express their own voices about what was going on in their feelings. But then I created this suite called Today. And Today started off with the music of Kirk Franklin, where he was talking about touch somebody, love somebody, greet somebody. Because we all saw what happened in living color. And on top of that, COVID was in place. So it was a double pain for all of us. But all through it, we kept dancing. I kept creating dance and giving a voice, and letting the dancers have a voice in also the work. And I created somebody said, hold on, wait a minute. Tell me, what did you see? And created a dance around that as well. So I created a suite that's about 25, 30 minutes that included poetry, singing, and dance as a way of healing. And so it's still healing. I think we ended with
Celia Cruz.
With Celia Cruz's work, I Will Survive, music.
So Lula, I'm sorry. Let me just make this connection right here, because Lula has a vast repertoire. And when we're talking about those moments, the civil unrest, was other 9/11, COVID and George Floyd, and before that, there were other things in the histories, but she created works that then toured nationally and internationally. So those works now have an opportunity to speak to people that weren't here, but experienced it wherever they were. And now there's opportunity for conversation. And so that's what I meant earlier about the art is critical, the art is necessary. It's hard to tell the art the truth, because sometimes people just only want to be entertained, and sometimes we don't want to deal with things. But it's important that we have the opportunities for it, the spaces for it to happen.
Well, and I think what's so interesting to me is how much, because I am not a performer, but I appreciate the performance so much, because I feel like, especially with dance, music, you actually have the ability to kind of get in touch with words when you don't even know what you're feeling. And that's what's amazing to me, is that you all can take what you're feeling and create the art, because I think a lot of people, we sit in it. That's why our mental health can be unstable, right? Because we don't know how to process what we're feeling. And it's so amazing that you are able to use the art and create that. I mean, it's such a talent. Let's pause for a moment. We'll be right back.
The viewer, the audience member that is sitting with us in the space, will find a way to move and come to a new place, will shift in it in the space of watching the movement, that the
Yes.
movement will resonate and create some shift for them in the moment. And that's the beauty of live performance as well, is you're in this space in this time with these people at this moment, and that the dance was specifically that way that night. The music was recorded. It's going to be the same every night, but the way that interpretation happened was unique. It won't be the same next week.
Well, yeah,
But
that's why it's important that you have the opportunity to maybe talk to people about it first, if you can, because people expect to think that, oh, I should get this right away, and if I don't, something's wrong with me. And so it's not, nothing's wrong with them. And I always like to tell people, open yourself up when you come. Don't have a preconceived idea of what it is. Accept it and let whatever happens, and your thoughts about it come out. And I always encourage people after the show or something, talk with somebody else about what you saw. Have a conversation about it, because they do that when they're having a book session. They'll talk about things about the writer, but they don't really do that a lot for dance. Have the conversation. And like I said, dance is the first thing that people will say, oh, I'll never go back to see it because I didn't understand it. Now I was scratching my head. And I have to say, you have to give dance the same chance and opportunity that you give everything else. You can go see a movie 4 times, 5, 100 times. You can only see that dance at one time. And so you have to like think about it. And as Tamica always says, you gotta think about it and process what you saw. And then ask the question about it and question whoever was with you and get their feedback about it. Because it's the conversations that follow that will help you to know, oh, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to get it. You may feel something. What did you feel? How did it make you feel? What did it make you want to do? So we have little places in some of the choreography where we engage the audience. Like, what are you going to do about it? We ask that question. And they all say, nobody's going to say nothing. And I said, well, if they don't say nothing, they don't say nothing. But
sometimes they do say something, and it's like, it's the shock. And I
Like, we're part of the show, right?
Well, yeah.
Part of the show. And so we try to find ways in some of the work to have people engage in it. We also just have to know that modern dance is something that's not accepted unless you come from Europe or something where they lift you up and up and up and up, or unless you're one of the big New York companies where they lift you up and up and up and up. But you have to understand, we have to push all the arts that come out of our communities that go all over the world, because there's value in what we bring out of our community. So we met an artist from Australia, and he was telling me his story. And I was like, people go through this right here in the United States of America. And he said, yes, but they don't know that I went through it in Australia. They don't know the riots and the things you'll go through in Australia. And we don't know what y'all have gone through here. And I said, well, the reason for us to get together so we can share this thing. Because if you're not sharing it, people don't know about it. We got a short memory. So in the choreography, we have something, one of the pieces in the Today Suite, we have what we call hashtags. There'd be a hashtag to say, he lied. Another hashtag say, he's still lying. And now we're going to 45th is a lie. My body, my choice. This, that, and the other. I'm gonna vote. Keep the vote. Different little hashtags to say, hashtag this, whatever the current things are, because it's always funny how people that tell big lies, everybody believe them all the time. Still believe them. But when you tell the truth, it's so hard for people to hear it. It's like, maybe their ears are plugged or something. I don't know. But we bring it back. And we say, they murdered George Floyd. We have to keep this alive because it's the truth. And when they're trying to erase our history, if we're not keeping our history alive, who is? So that's our point of view.
Y'all are fabulous.
Thank you.
One of the things I do want to know, though, is, I mean, can you, and Lula, I know we were going to ask you a little bit about your journey, but how did both of you know that this is what you wanted to do? I know I know Tamica grew up with it, but a lot of times when your parents are doing something, you don't always want to follow, but it is like who you are. Like, how did you know this is what your purpose was?
Tamika was never forced to do anything. It's always her choice. And she's been in it, like you said. She recalls, I think I heard her say, we would take her to see dance when she was a baby. And the Royce Hall, because we were students there. Tamika's always been a person that, even when she was little, she was part of a movement, the movement at UCLA to provide childcare for students. And we were one of the plaintiffs that was suing UCLA to get that to happen, because we were wanting to get Tamika in that childcare center because it was one of the best ones and it was close, and we could come to school all the way there, drop her off, and she'd be there. Then when we leave school, we go back. But it was only for the professors. So we always been a part of some type of movement. And Tamika was always part of a movement, even when she was little, part of that movement. But it's always been her choice to find her own voice. And she's a very creative artist herself. She has some wonderful choreography, and we're going to be sharing one of her works, her new works, on the show that I'm very excited about that she's working on. And so we're going to be sharing that. So she's going to develop it. I think I'll let her finish talking about her piece, but it's always been a personal choice. And you're absolutely right. Many times, founders or people that start something don't have anybody in their family that wants to do it. So they have to rely on others. But this was her choice. So we want to make the best of our time here with her so she can have the tools and the resources to do it her way when she needs to, when we're not here to be at her side. So it's a wonderful opportunity for myself and for her dad as well to have that experience with her growing. And she's tough, she's a very tough person. She's writing grants and proposals and negotiating things and everything and learning and meeting people. And her personality is very different from mine. I'm not the outgoing type. She's very outgoing.
I have a hard time believing that.
I'm a Pisces and I'm the fish, but sometimes I'm the fish that's going in the opposite direction. But I'm still a fish. But she's a Cancer. She's a natural mediator, so she kind of comes in and she finds those common places. And so it's a good. And we're all water signs. Her dad's a Scorpio. She's a Cancer. So we got all that fire and water, all that up in there together. So it can be very heated, very opinionated people. And so it's a learning experience for all. But maybe Tamica can talk a little bit about her piece.
Well, yeah, I thank you, Mommy, for that, all those amazing compliments. Thank you. I have watched the two geniuses. I've watched them do this. I've watched and I've participated. I followed directions. I listened. I tried to speak up and then I just listened. But it is a blessing, and it is very challenging to work as an only child and with your folks. But the blessing is that I'm able to take what they've started and hopefully continue it and move it to another place, so that even now I'm thinking about who and how will be beyond me as the bloodline. And yes, my parents, I mean, when I look back and I look at my friends and I look at my experience, I was always busy, but it was always my choice. Like my parents were like, yeah, you can do it. Can you fit it into your schedule? Yeah, you can do it. The homework is still due. Like, so I learned early on that it's possible to do almost all the things that you want to do if you're planning and if you do the work and if you're prepared and you know what it's going to require of you. You understand that. And then I also learned some things you just can't do. It's not going to be able to make it. So my parents gave me the opportunity to do everything. I ran track. I became co-captain of the track team. I was in the acting program in school. I produced the dance company on campus. I brought the dance company to the school. I mean, I did everything. I was an actor. I did everything. But at the end of the day, I I was in film, television, Hollywood. I always was like, go, you should do it. Everybody, you should do it. You're perfect. They're great. The camera loves you. Go and do it. And I always had issues when they said, oh, come look your natural self. But then they'd be like, oh, but you need to straighten your hair.
Mm,
But that's not my natural self.
right.
Those things, I learned them early, and I saw my mom go through stuff at her auditions. And so I was always kind of, I don't want to block any work that might come my way, but also understanding that there was a different expectation and sacrifice for Hollywood than the more authentic work I feel like I had access to as a dancer and in live theater performing arts. And as I grew up, understood my purpose and value is to me more impactful with my boots on the ground because I saw as a teenager what the studio meant for my community and my peers. And to this day, I mean, some of my friends today, just like, girl, that time when we had the class at your mom's studio was so fun. Like I cherish that moment still to my life. And we're in our 50s now. And she's like, that was the best time of my life. And I'm like, well, I have those days every day because I have a studio. But I learned that as a young person. And so as I grew up, like I said, I went to school, I realized, no, I have a legacy opportunity that my friends don't necessarily have. They may have it with their family businesses, but I have the opportunity for this legacy. I'm naturally inclined in this direction. It has been favorable to me. And so it made sense for me to continue on that path of of continuing this legacy and to be proud of it, to be proud of my parents and their work, and to be proud of what they've been able to build here on the West Coast in Los Angeles. Um, yeah, I recognized that in my early 20s when I went to New York. They gave me plenty of chances, and I went out and I experienced other dance companies. I thought I was going to do other things, but naturally inclined to do the business because I was with my dad all the time at his meetings. I listened to him talk. I helped him type. I folded the flyers. Remember, you could get a flyer three-fold and put in the to the point where by the time I was 16, I wasn't the kid on the phone. I was like, the phone is for business. Like, I can't just be on the phone all the time. I because I was old lady on the phone talking business by that point. But yeah, they gave me plenty of opportunities to go out and do and be find my own voice.
That's fantastic.
It was just I'm just blessed. It just been a blessing.
I am so blessed because you all are coming to my city in a couple of weeks. Well, not even.
Next week, next week, that Monday night, by Monday night we'll be there.
Yes. So I am excited. So can you talk a little bit about what you guys are doing when you're here and how you interface with community?
Yes, I so everywhere that we go, the opportunity to connect with the community is a little different. This time, I believe that we have two different kind of engagement opportunities with the people. I believe at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, the 19th, there is a community open level dance class for people who are dancers, who move, who I believe there's a community of folk who take classes and whatnot. And so that'll be an open level movement class that Lula and myself and maybe a couple dancers will be there. This is at the theater. And then after that, it's what we're calling like a community move, where anybody who wants to move, that whether you have dance experience or not, come. It's social movement. It's a movement experience. It's a good time, and it's to help people just remember that how mean, some people do go out and dance and they already know how uplifting and amazing it is for your body, but some people don't. And also, it's an opportunity for us to kind of let them see we're human beings and tell them a little bit about what they'll see. We may use some music from the performance, and we always try to have time to talk with the participants and answer any questions that they might have. So I'm excited about that because they'll be in the theater, I believe. I'm not sure if they're on the stage, but they'll be in the theater, which is, yeah. I'm trying to think of one more thing. Something on the tip of my tongue about the community classes. Oh, I was going to tell you about the work. So I believe you're going to see. So my piece that Lula was talking about is still a work in progress. It will premiere in 2025 at the Ford Theater. And so we're just getting into the work. You'll see about 12 minutes of it, give or take. And it is based on, it has been inspired by the 1619 project. Both Lula and I have works right now that were created out of COVID and George Floyd and have been inspired by the 1619 project. And my piece, because during George Floyd and COVID, when we were in the house, I found myself shouting, praising, shouting all by myself. And I looked on Instagram and Facebook, and everybody was dancing or moving in some kind of way. And then I just started thinking about the spiritual connection to it. Then I remembered, oh yeah, the ring shout. And then I said, oh my goodness, the ring shout started right after slavery in like the 30s. By the time they started saying you need to go and have this little praise house, or you can go and praise on the one day a week at this hour. And so the idea of the 1619 project is not really recapping what happened, but what is now because we had slavery, because of it. What are these outcomes, right? What are the things that we're dealing with now? And I thought about the movement that came out of the praise house, the ring shout, and how that spiritual healing has kept us to now, and how it will keep us in the future. So I'm looking at remembering those movement, those gestures, those little things that grandma told us how to do, prayer, the healing technologies that we forgot or that we don't remember, we don't do anymore, in the movement of it. So that piece is also inspired by the stories that we could fly, that we could fly, that we can fly, and we can fly. So that's the working title, and we can fly. And that's my piece that I'm showcasing. Lula, you want to talk about the master plan?
Yeah, master plan is a concept of universal peace and happiness for everyone through the concept of messengers that are sent out throughout the world to bring that message of peace and happiness to everyone. Because our situation in the United States and around the world right now is in such turmoil. So because it's in such turmoil, it requires people who are seers and people who can feel the energy of the universe to start putting in motion contradictions to all the hate and contradictions to all of the negativity that's swirling around us, that's suppressing us and suppressing different communities and people's mindsets. So Pharoah Sanders' music, the creator, that's the music. The name of the music is The Creator Has a Master Plan, but the dance itself is called the Master Plan. So it's based on that. And the concept of using the rainbow and the connections to our yoga, spiritual souls and energy, our chakras, through colors to help bring forth this kind of peace and happiness and love, and a way to bring healing and quietness to ourselves in the piece, in the constant trying to find that balance. And once we find that balance, we're in harmony, and hopefully everybody be in harmony. That's the idea. It's quite a long piece, but it's a journey, and it's one that once again people come open to see what they get out of it, and to see, because all of the colors, I think, are colors that everybody can relate to, and hopefully they love these colors. But it is the colors that help us embrace and find ourselves, and we wrap ourselves in the color at the end for the warmth and the kindness that we've gotten from our all higher being, wherever our higher being is. So that's the concept of the master plan. So it's a lovely piece. So we are very excited about sharing that up there, along with some other work that we have in our repertoire. That's what Tamica calls from our vault, that we'll be sharing a piece called God Bless Africa, because as slaves, we were taken all over the world, and song called God Bless Africa to me is a statement. Africa is a huge, huge continent. So that's all the people in Africa, not just people that look like us, but all the people need to be blessed. That's how I see it. But also reflecting on the slaves that were removed from the continent by the various different means that they were some were sold, some were just stolen and removed. So however you want to look at it, they were gone, they were taken. And they knew that once they got on that boat that they would never be back. They would never see their loved ones. And those that actually ended up in slavery, when they were separated, it's the same thing. You never see. And I was always say, what rituals do we have as Black people? What rituals do we have? Because when we went to China, our guide, he always had these rituals that he wanted to do. He had this ritual. I was like, dang, what rituals do we have? And then I realized that just hugging each other is our ritual. I never realized that before. And I said, every time we go somewhere, our grandparents, they all come and hug us, and our great-grandparents, they'll come and hug us. And I said, that's because they didn't know when they would see us again, or their relatives never knew. I said, that's going to be our ritual. That's our ritual. But nobody told me that was a ritual. I just said, well, maybe it is. I claimed it as a ritual. So that's that dance. And then we have another piece that we're sharing called I hope I said it right, to me, Igbo landing is a part of this piece about the slaves that were released off the boat. I think it was in Virginia. They were told to get off the boat and walk up to the land. And they got off the boat, but then when they got to the land, they started walking back. They said, we're not going to step on this land. I mean, to me, that's what they were saying. We're not going to step on this land. And they kept walking back until they drowned. They'd rather die than put one foot onto that land. And so that's a beautiful solo reflective of that anguish.
So I wanted to just put one little thing in there, because I love when we do the South African national anthem. First of all, most people don't know that there is such a song. And it also, to me, connects to the idea that, yeah, they took lots of us from that continent, and they keep taking everything else out the continent. The diamonds, the uranium, the oil, you name it. No, but so that piece, we do that solo, we do both of those solos in our educational performances, as well as the Black National Anthem. And we do that because kids don't even know. It was interesting. We did the solo the other day, and Lula asked about the second solo, the Igbo landing solo. When it was over, she asked a student to come up and share her thoughts about what she saw. What did she get? What was her own interpretation from it? And it was very interesting, the youth, how the youth took it. It's like, I guess she was very upset that she had to make this decision, but it was how she said it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. A kid growing up in the 70s, myself, would have been like, she was mad. She had to,
Right.
she had to make the choice. Like, she was really upset. And she just the way that she got it but it was her, the tone, the energy in it. It's different. The resonation of it was it's interesting to me. So some kind of low key, like she was just, I guess,
Yeah.
and she had to make this choice, but she understood and she got to her expression of what she got from it. But it was just the tone of the generation. I was just, I was like, wow, they've seen so much, I guess, by this age and experienced a
Yes.
lot in the world,
Yeah.
especially as a high school student. You went through George Floyd and what other conversations you might have had in that process, and
Yeah.
all the movies you've seen.
Yeah. It's growing up in a different place for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't want to keep you all, but I do want to ask both of you, because it's Women's History Month. One of the things I've been talking about is just trying to recognize women lifting women, because I know a lot of times we don't. So I love the fact that I'm hearing you talk about Lula really kind of getting the taking over from another couple who was running a dance
Oh, I
theater.
told her about Arwanda. I told her about Arwanda Lewis.
And now you all are really doing a lot of the same thing to create the legacy that you are. So I have a quick question for you all, just in terms of what advice would you give your younger selves, knowing who you are today and where you are? Is there anything you would tell yourself?
That's a hard question. Let's see.
Okay, well, and I don't want
Well,
to take it too far.
I guess if I was young again, I'm starting over. Is that what you mean?
Sure. However you take it. Like what would you, I mean, because you now have seen all the obstacles and the pain, the trauma, the healing that you provide through dance. Like, I don't know.
Well, I would just say, don't let nobody tell you that what you can do and what you cannot do. Don't let nobody step all over your rights, and search for truth and honesty in everything that you do. And I would say, take some karate classes. I would say, study yoga. I would say, learn how to stay humble, and learn how to develop your third eye, because your third eye is the eye that's going to help you see truth and reality, and help you learn how to read people and develop those skills. And that only person that can keep you back is yourself. And yeah, and always learn how to say please and thank you. Yeah,
Love it.
that was good.
I love it.
That's a hey, I listen, when you asked the question, I immediately went to multiverse and was like, I would not pass myself. I wouldn't say anything to myself. I just wouldn't tell the rules of my mind. I'm a space sci-fi nerd. But also, I mean, everything that I went through got me here, and there was, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want to I don't know. Everything Lula said is great. And yeah, those are things that would be good to say. And if I'm literally thinking about somehow went back in time and I told myself, I had a chance to tell myself something, I feel like I wouldn't, because the choices that I made got me here right now,
Yes.
based on everything I had in that time, in that moment. And based on what I have to keep saying, I listened to my parents
Mm.
begrudgingly at times, but I did listen.
I love it.
I did. I did. And I made choices based on knowing that I had a legacy to so I don't think I don't know. I feel like multiverse.
Yes.
I'm not gonna see my young self again.
I
I'm
love
not
it.
telling her.
One last thing. Will we have an audience when we get there?
Oh,
Will there be people of color there? Or will it just be people we don't know? But it's okay. We just want to know who we're going to see. Will we be sitting up in that theater by ourselves?
Oh
that
no.
was we started on that. We started there, huh? Talking
I,
about
I didn't hear that. But I got to go.
oh
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, you're gonna have an audience, let me tell you. So we're trying to pack the house, but we're gonna bring some people, your Black people. We want them to show up.
and I know that's why I'm asking you that question right now. Tell our community. We know.
That's
Yes.
why we be going out to Melyssa, because we know sometimes our community needs to know who it is and understand what are they coming to do. Why should I come and see it? And that's why we try to do as much engagement on our own when someone
Yes.
brings us, tell us whatever what they can do. I just wasn't able to do much on my own this time. So I
No,
was grateful.
this is fantastic. I treasure the fact that you all have made time to just share a lot of the story, because I think it's so true. I think a lot of people look at dance and they go, yeah, maybe I don't understand, or I don't know what I'm looking at, but to be able to understand what is being created, and so that you can really tap in and connect with it, it's amazing how healing that really can be. So I'm so looking forward to it. I'm so excited, and I cannot wait to see you all. I'm so glad that the Grand Theater brought you here to my little town in Tracy. And I'm so glad that I now know that you're my soror.
I know. I got stuff all over. Let's see. Can you see it? All my little
Oh yeah.
detail.
There you
Other some
go.
other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So that's exciting. We are so excited to have you and host you, and we're looking forward to you coming to the NAACP general meeting as well. So I'm just really excited at the work you all are doing. So thank you for that.
awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all of it. Thank you for everything. And yeah, we have a long history with NAACP. I can't wait to share and be in space with you guys. Saturday at 10:30.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, I now know what happened. I got all the days and times mixed up, and then I decided to not drive. So my head was like, "You don't have to drive. You get to stay home." 10:30, everything. It's the time. Anyway,
It's all good. It's all good. It worked out, and I'm just glad that we could have the space together. So thank you all so much. Tell your mom, I don't know if she's coming back, but please give her my blessings and thank you.
okay, I will. I will.
I look forward to seeing you guys in person next week.
Absolutely. Okay, take care.
All
I'll
right,
talk
you
to
too.
soon.
All right, bye-bye. Thanks for joining me on the Jali podcast. Please subscribe so you won't miss an episode. See you next week.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.